Happy Mother's Day, everybody, yesterday. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. It was an absolute beautiful weekend, Saturday and Sunday. No wind, high 70s, low 80s. Sun was out shining. Now, there was this kind of interesting part yesterday afternoon where we did just kind of get hit with like a 15-minute rainstorm, at least on the southeast side of Fort Collins. But other than that, it was absolutely perfect. I do have a question for some of you guys that are watching on live or rerun. If you're live, I would be happy to have a conversation with you. If you're watching on rerun, I'm curious. My daughter's birthday is always going to fall within Mother's Day. And we had a hard time balancing, okay, so this is for Mother's Day, but it's also kind of for NOLA because we're going to have a cake and candles. And I had a friend growing up whose birthday was on December 23rd. And I remember he absolutely hated it because it was a celebration and a holiday for everybody. And it kind of felt like his birthday got set aside. Now, I'm not a huge birthday person myself, so I don't know if I would necessarily have cared. But, for a 7-year-old, birthdays are pretty special. So I'm interested on how you would navigate. Maybe you dedicate a specific day for the birthday, even if it's not, their birthday, or what you might do. But just curious. Now, this is live in Fort Collins. We come to you live every week. Last week's city's council session was a 60-minute, basically public comment where they were talking about large emitter fees for carbon emission contributors in Fort Collins and northern Colorado. Other than that, really, there wasn't actually any discussion topics, and the consent calendar passed 7-0, and I will talk to you guys a little bit about a couple of the consent items because I thought it was relatively interesting. Good morning. Appreciate you following and watching. If you have any questions or comments, just let us know. Now, that being said, otherwise it was a 60-minute conversation, but we are going to go over some of the things that have happened over the past week, and then again end with some things that you can do upcoming this weekend. And there is an exciting thing that's definitely not special to Fort Collins or northern Colorado, but I will say Fort Collins has definitely gotten on the bandwagon for things to do. So let's get rocking and rolling. There was a House bill that passed that essentially intensifies the protocols that an Uber and Lyft driver, essentially a driver for hire, which used to be, taxis, but now through apps and different programs, you can call an Uber to your house, like I did last week when I brought my truck in and picked me up, took me downtown, and then got me to my vehicle after that as well. So this bill is actually getting some pretty decent pushback from Uber saying if this passes, which it has passed, it just hasn't been signed into law yet, they would pull out. Now, Lyft said that this would not be a good thing. And here are some of the things that they're considering doing. This is in all of these vehicles. Audio and video recording of all trips with the rideshare companies that are providing the equipment, and the rideshare companies are providing the equipment for drivers. Now, I've seen some videos on Instagram and things of that nature that it's good. It's a good thing that they had that. And probably as a driver, for my safety, I would probably have some sort of audio, video, and let them know when they come in that is the case. And probably a good thing on that one. But requiring it, maybe not. I don't know. A ban on drivers offering or providing snacks or water to passengers. I will say that there are some songs out there that talk about how, guys can go to clubs and just can have fun. And girls go to clubs and they put a napkin over their drink. They're very intuitive to what's their surroundings, and they're concerned about things that could happen there. So I don't necessarily have the perspective that could be offered on whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not a big fan of eating other people's snacks or foods unless I know you. So that wouldn't impact me necessarily, but I could see, other people maybe not thinking like that, and maybe some scrupulous behavior on a driver if they're, drugging, or maybe as simple as it being expired and somebody getting a little bit sick. So, I know in retail spots, you've got to get a license to sell food and liquor and things of that nature. So it isn't crazy to say, hey, you're not going to serve snacks. And maybe they give an option saying, hey, if you want to go get a vendor's license to sell snacks or give snacks or however that might work, maybe there's a little bit of oversight for that. And then you got to come and have, inspections in your vehicle, make sure they're clean, well kept, not expired foods. So it would be pretty burdensome. But for me personally, I'm not going to be eating much snacks from drivers. No reason other than I wouldn't for just because I didn't know yet. Mandatory safety screenings of drivers every 6 months. I don't know what that entails, but probably not a bad thing to make sure that vehicles are fully operational and safe and secure, have all of their maintenance upkeeps. Last thing you need in Colorado specifically is a vehicle that breaks down in the middle of winter and you're getting a drive up to Estes Park and you're on the side of US 34 because of maintenance that hasn't been upkept with the vehicle. Now, every 6 months, that's a little bit of an ask, but maybe once a year or every 2 years, and you have to provide an audit of your oil changes or annual maintenance or prescribed maintenance for that vehicle. More stringent verification that the person behind the wheel is actually the person that the account belongs to. And I believe what I saw was a live video identification of this individual. Again, I would say I'm probably pretty lax when it comes to safety. And for me, that is part of having grown up in Fort Collins and, doors being left open and things being left on my center console and my wife looking at me and basically smacking me upside the head saying, what are you doing? You got to at least take some minimal protocols. And specifically when an Uber driver comes up, I'm really not checking to see if, John Henry is who John Henry is on the driver. I'm like, man, they showed up at the right spot at the right time. I'm taking this. But there are horror stories everywhere. And so, I don't necessarily see this being too crazy. And especially we're going to talk here shortly where Colorado ranked 11th in best states to live, and where they ranked poorly was on property crime and public safety. So taking some of these considerations into effect, while, I think there needs to be a balance of practicality and the ultimate desire. So maybe we slowly get into that, but it seems like it's going to be going. I don't think Uber would pull out of a market that is a growth market like Colorado and a desirable place, number 11th place to best state. But, they're in business to make money. And if they believe that this is going to not allow them to make money or potentially be up for lawsuits, they might actually do that. So we'll see what ultimately happens with all of that. But I know for me, Uber is I don't use it often. When I go down to the airport, when my vehicle is in the shop and, my wife, whether she's on a day that she's working or not, and then definitely drinking and driving downtown. It's just the easiest thing to avoid now with Ubers and Lyfts. So definitely something to watch to see if they actually end up pulling out in the future. Fort Collins Railroad crossing at Prospect and College, or right near Prospect and Mason, essentially, is going to go through some construction on June 3rd through 5th. And they are recommending taking Drake or Mulberry. And I will say that we just went through 3 weeks, and I believe we're done on all of the Harmony Road construction. And man, I don't complain too much about traffic, but when one of those major arteries are shut down, while it's not all day, every day that there's an issue on the alternative arteries, there are issues when it comes to rush hour, 8 a.m., 5 p.m. The good thing about this, though, is this is right smack dab in the heart of, college, university area. And we were just talking about it. I was just talking about it with a friend that you can feel when students leave Fort Collins, and they're gone from end of May to middle of August. And so the good thing about this work being done on June 3rd through 5th is you're not going to have nearly as many college students, so maybe the traffic isn't as bad. Okay, so here comes the best states and where Colorado ranked. Colorado ranked number 11, so we're out of the top 10, but where we ranked well, and let's see here. Come on. Let's go. Okay. Where we ranked poorly is crime and corrections, number 47th, economy, number 6, education, number 3, fiscal stability, number 43, healthcare, number 9, infrastructure, 11, natural environment, number 16. That's kind of an interesting one, just because of it being in Colorado. Opportunity, number 33. Let's see here. The best states ranking, though, are as follows. Okay, come on. Let's see. Best states overall. Number 1 is Utah. Come on. Okay, that's fine. Just had it. Well, number 1 is Utah. Okay, so I don't want to go too far in on that, but I thought it was interesting, specifically with the Uber deal, and then crime and corrections, and fiscal stability. Crime and safety, public safety, at number 49. So only one state worse than us, and that's New Mexico. Public safety and then crime and corrections. I'm just thinking about this, and I'm like, this is even more location specific, but one of the things that I talk about in Fort Collins, which is nice about Fort Collins, is the accessibility to Denver, just an hour away. And for me, we just had a client and friend who went down to Denver to watch Book of Mormon this last weekend, and it's great that those opportunities are just an hour away. But then you talk about, staycations and using, the Front Range passenger rail system, which we'll talk about here shortly as well, that connects Colorado Springs to Denver, to Fort Collins, and potentially up into, Vail, Copper, Breckenridge area. It could be phenomenal, but it's also one of those things where my family and I are going on a vacation this summer to the Dominican Republic, and I'm just a little bit anxious about it. I'm like, man, why leave such a safe spot? I don't want to necessarily be a hermit by any means, but this, for Colorado ranking 49 on public safety and 49 on crime and corrections, I'm like, man, why would I go down to Denver? And in fact, I was watching a video that was talking about how the 16th Street Mall down in Denver, the city is trying to figure out different ways and opportunities to bring people back to the 16th Street Mall. And so while I talk about how awesome it is to have Denver just next door, generally speaking, that's going to be where the majority of the crime is, just due to population and dynamics down there. So hopefully Colorado can figure that out and clean it up, because it is such an amazing place with lots of amenities and opportunities, but not a good thing coming in at 49th and 47th respectively. Breckenridge, though, came in as one of the most charming number 8 small towns in the United States, downtowns. Pretty cool. I'm shocked that places like Steamboat, I know there's some population demographics that are up there, but it's always nice to see places like that to then be able to go and visit. We just had a client that reached out and asked, hey, where can we go up, get some cabins and motorboats and have a weekend getaway relatively close? And we said Grand Lake, and Zach said that it was an absolute blast of a place to go and visit. And it's just great to be able to go do that 3-4 hours away. Last year, we went and visited Telluride, which was absolutely phenomenal, but it was about 7.5 hours away. And I'm probably not going there on an annual basis, even though I know a lot of people do go to the Bluegrass Festival down in Telluride for that. Specifically with kids, I'm probably not going to do that on an annual basis, but having those accessible to us right out our backyard to be able to go visit, the 8th best small town downtown in America for an afternoon or weekend getaway. We took our team up to Breckenridge 2 years ago during the summer and went some, downtown mountain bike riding, had some great dinners there. So again, pretty cool to have that right out our backyard. Some not so great news. There was an animal lab that then I looked at the Google reviews, and they were 11 one-star Google reviews. So whatever this place is called Red Beast Enterprises, also known as High Quality Research, had 11 citations for violations of the Federal Animal Welfare Act. And apparently CSU has had a relationship with them, no longer does have a relationship with them as of 2 years ago, but there was a undercover PETA investigator who actually said that there was a CSU representative on site during their investigation. So, kind of an interesting conversation, but for probably not a lot of good things. They actually say that they're not non-critical in the inspection report, but it's not a great thing. So hopefully whatever that location is can figure that out. It's over by the Larimer County Detention Center. And so, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, it did. If you are Catholic or if you followed that, it's the first American Pope in history out of Chicago. So apparently there's some Fort Collins Catholics that are excited about that. And then finally, okay, here we go. City council, generally pretty boring. It was a 60-minute city council session. Majority of that was with public comment. There are 6 candidates up for the race of mayor, 3 of which are former or current city council members. And I could go through those, actually. I might as well. Yeah, sure. Tricia Canonico, she is a current city council member. Adam Eggleston, I believe he was in real estate, but he's very active within the community. I believe in the real estate kind of legislative area, but he is running for mayor. Emily Francis, the current pro tem for Fort Collins and city council member. Adam Hirschborn, don't know him per se. And Shirley Peel, a former city council member. And then finally, Scott Van Tatenhove, Scotty V is the name. So we've got 6 city council members. We do have a couple other districts up for vote, District 1, 3, and 5. So that's going to start to take shape. We're probably going to start to see some mayors standing on street corners and trying to get your vote. So let me know if you think I should have any of these folks onto our podcast or talk to them on our live. Or maybe I could do like a round table. That would be kind of cool. And we could ask some questions on the podcast. And if so, let us know what questions we should ask. But I think that would be pretty cool to have maybe our 3 top runners. Maybe that's fair or not, but they are at least current or former council members. So they've gone through the election process. They've campaigned. So I'm guessing they're going to at least have an idea of what to do. And we could have those 3 on possibly. Might be a good opportunity. But let's see here. Let's get rock and rolling. Not a good friend, but a friend of mine, is at the City of Fort Collins Visitor Center, and a big portion of their revenue comes from lodging tax. And we had $2 million budgeted for revenue in 2024 for a lodging tax, and we're a tourist economy. We have over 1 million people a year visiting Fort Collins, and during the COVID time periods, that was super difficult for hotels and restaurants. And it hasn't gotten much easier, that's for sure. But that being said, our 2024 revenue tax collected for lodging actually came in at over $400,000 above what our budget was. Our budget was $2 million, and we came at $2,424,000 for our lodging tax, which says the demand for that was higher than expected. So I thought that was pretty cool. Then there is a resolution supporting the grant application for funding for the Front Range Passenger Rail Project planning. Now, they're saying what this is, Fort Collins and Loveland's trying to do is kind of collaborate to try to get some initial design and check boxes done, but there is some financing and funding problems where if we don't get these grants, we won't be funded to get these designs in place. And this entire thing is going to hinge on this Front Range Passenger Rail District that they create, which may increase tax of some sort if you're within this district. So we've had folks on the podcast talk about the Front Range Passenger Rail. I'm not sure if this is ever going to come to fruition or not. But there are steps being taken to at least provide an opportunity to get life breathed into it. All right, what are some things you can do this upcoming weekend? Well, School of Rock Night 3 at the Aggie Theater tonight, 4:30 to 9, or 4:30 until whenever. So some good music at the Aggie. Pools are opening in Fort Collins. I didn't realize this, but like the Landings pool opened early because of, we've got some really great weather. And so they've opened up early, but you're going to see a lot more pools opening up. A lot of the pools open up right around Memorial Day. So that's just coming up in a week, in a couple of weeks. But also some of the gyms are opening up their indoor and outdoor pools as well. Genesis at South is already opened on the outdoor, and then on Midtowns is opening up here sooner than later. Interesting things are happening at Genesis. Like I haven't seen a ton of movement on their huge construction project that is happening at Genesis South. And, kind of hearsay and things of that nature, gossip, if you will. But hopefully this project can kind of finish up because it does look like it's going to be pretty darn sweet at Genesis South. So kind of a plug for them. The Fort Collins Food Truck Rally is starting this Tuesday. If you are in and around the area, or if you've never been, the Fort Collins Food Truck Rally starts this Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. There's going to be 51 food trucks that alternate in and out every week. But for every week, there will be 20 food trucks down at City Park. There's live music as well. It's a hit, that's for sure. Now, parking can become a little bit of an issue. So, they recommend biking, taking the Max Transit, trying some alternative routes to get down there and enjoy the live music and food trucks down there. So starting this Tuesday. Now, I'm not sure when the South Food Truck Rally that is right by my house at the Fossil Creek Park happens, but it's anemic comparatively to the City Park Rally, but I would say there could be anywhere between 4 on the low side, usually never less than 4 to 10 food trucks there. And so that's definitely something that's, worth exploring. There is a household hazardous waste collection this Saturday, May 17th, at the City Streets facility. You can bring your paints and cleaners, and there is a list of acceptable items that you can bring. You can't bring tires and a couple other items. Now, I will say, if you live in Larimer County, you can actually take these hazardous items to the hazardous waste collection at Larimer County's landfill, and it's free so long as it's coming from your home. You got to plug in your address, plug in your name, and then you can just drop it off, and they'll take care of the disposal for you. Additionally, in Fort Collins at the Timberline Recycling Center, I believe there's some hazardous waste collection there as well. So I just did some remodel and renovation on my basement, redid our not renovation. I just added some shelves in our storage. Organized it is probably the best way to put it. But we had some old paint cans, and so I was able to dispose of those really pretty easily. Took me, not even 20 minutes from the time that I parked, paid, got in, gave it. Now I did have to pay because I also had to drop off some items at the landfill, but it would have been free if I would have just went to the hazardous waste collection. Now, and the last thing to do this weekend is if you're interested, I'm not 100% sure as far as like access or tickets or anything along those lines, but at the NoCo Sports Center, which used to be Power to Play, which is a pretty cool facility just in Windsor, south of the main or north of the main event. There are some wonderful basketball gyms, volleyball courts, but there is going to be the American Cornhole League signature event that's happening on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And apparently there are some pretty decent cornhole players that are going to be there with $50,000 in prizes to be given away. So if you're interested or want to go watch some cornhole, they also are going to live stream it to their website as well. So that is what we've got this week, guys. It's a phenomenal week. We do. You can absolutely start up your sprinklers right now. We shouldn't get any more freezes. Go ahead and plant your garden, plant your flowers. We should be good on that as well. But some amazing weather, including today and tomorrow, with some rain next week, early next week, which is always good. Get those lawns watered. And we do have a wonderful landscape and irrigation company that we've been just working with. And my wife, who is is more, I would say, detail oriented and constructive on the vendors that we use, loves this company. So if you're interested in that or would like a connection, we'd be happy to give their name out. They've been nothing but great for us. So appreciate you guys watching on a weekly basis. And until next time, take care.